Today I'm going to show you how to sew the easiest adjustable lounge joggers. These are great for girls or boys, and they fit sizes newborn up to a size 10. The printable pattern pieces for this project are down below in the description box, or if you are watching from our website, alohasewingcompany.com, welcome and sew along. The best thing about this sewing pattern is it has an adjustable waistband and bottom leg cuffs. You can either leave them rolled, or as your child grows, you can unroll them so that they fit the perfect length. Go ahead and choose the size that you want to print out. The document will show you how to choose those sizes, and then you will go ahead and assemble them and cut them out. For our beginner sewers, I will also include a tutorial on how to tape together a printable pattern. It is super quick and easy. You have the front, the back, the waistband, and the leg cuffs. Now let's talk fabric. You're going to use a stretch knit fabric to make these. I'm going to show you a few different ones. This one is rib knit. You can see that the lines go up and down, and that's because if you pull it from left to right, that's where your stretch is. No matter what kind of knit fabric you're going to use for these, you want your stretch to be from left to right, just like this. If you stretch it up and down, it doesn't give it as much of a stretch, so your fit won't be as good. This is a jersey knit fabric, which I am using to make these joggers today. It stretches from left to right and just a little bit up and down. So it's a 50% stretch left to right. This is cotton lycra, or cotton spandex, I believe is the other term for it. This is my favorite fabric to use on the waistband and the leg cuffs because it's a four-way stretch. Stretches left to right and up and down, so you don't really have to worry about how you're cutting it. This is DBP. Double brush poly. It is super soft, and it also has a four-way stretch, but just be careful because it doesn't allow for a lot of ventilation through the fabric, so it may cause you to get a little bit hot. This last one here is Liverpool bullet fabric. You can see the texture is just a little bit different than other knit fabrics, and it just has a little bit of stretch going both ways, but you can still use that and other kinds of knit fabrics too. So here is the fabric that I'm using. I still have it folded from where it was cut at the fabric store, and you can see that the fold is on the right and the open raw edges are on the left. You're going to cut your fabric out after you trace the pattern pieces onto your fabric, but you want to do it so that that stretch goes from left to right. Your pant pieces and your waistband, you have to cut on the fold of the fabric. So you're going to fold your fabric just enough so that you can place that pattern piece on that fold of the fabric that we are making. And this is a 60-ish inch wide fabric. You can make a full set using this width fabric. Now that I've got the pattern piece on that left fold, I'm going to clip it in place, and I like to use some pattern weights to also put on top of my paper pattern so it doesn't shift and move. You don't have to do any of these things if you don't have them on hand. You can just trace all the way around, making sure your paper pattern piece doesn't move. After you have it traced, you're going to cut it out and do the same thing for the back of your jogger pants as well, and your waistband. Your two leg cuff pattern pieces, you don't have to cut on the fold. Once you have your pattern pieces cut out onto your fabric, go ahead and unpin or unclip them if you have to, and go ahead and open this fabric apart. You will see that both sides are nice and symmetrical because you cut it on the fold of the fabric. So go ahead and cut out all of your pattern pieces just like that. And here is the front on the left, and here is the back of your pants. You can tell the difference because on the front, it's kind of indented, where on the back there's a hump. That's to allow more room for your baby's bottom or child's bottom, and for any diapers. Then you're going to cut out two leg cuff pieces and one waistband. This is the wrong side of my fabric, and this is the right side. The pretty side should be facing up. This is the back of my pants, and I'm going to get the front of my pants and put the pretty side facing down. And I like to start by aligning the top left and top right corners together, and then I pin or clip it in place, and then I do a little shake to get it all evened out. And then I like to go ahead and pin or clip right at the inseam, right at the bottom of the legs, and then around the sides of these pants. Now that it's pinned or clipped in place, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew along each left and right side and all the way around the inseam using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. You can use a serger for this entire project, or you can use a regular sewing machine using your machine stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch. Knit fabric doesn't typically fray, so you don't have to worry about serging those edges or making them look neat and nice. Here's mine serged all the way on the left, the right, and all the way around the inseam of these pants. Now go ahead and turn these so that they are right side out. Now we want to work on quartering off our waistband and both of our leg pieces. We are going to do this by placing a mark or a small slit at the top middle and the back middle of your fabric. We already have the two side seams as a place mark. So now you're going to get those two side seams and fold them so that they meet together. And then that little fold, you're going to make two small slits, one in the outer and one in the inner of your fabric there, just small enough so that you can see it. You can also just make little marks with a fabric marker or whatever you like to use, or you can pin it in place. But now we've quartered this off. We have 4 pieces, the 2 side seams and the 2 slits. So do the same thing with your other leg piece, and here's mine done. And then we're going to do the same thing with our waist. We have the 2 side seams, bring those together, and then you're going to make little slits on the front and back fabric to find the front and the back middle parts of this fabric. You are going to do this as well to your leg bands and your waistband here in a few minutes, and that's so that when we attach these pieces all together, they are all attached perfectly where they should be. Now let's work on our waistband. You are going to fold this in half with the right sides together. The pretty sides of your fabric should be kissing, and the wrong side of your fabric should be facing you right now. And you're going to go ahead and sew those raw edges together using your serger or sewing machine using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. With your leg cuffs, we're going to do the same thing. Just remember the long sides of your rectangle should be at the top and bottom, and the short sides are what you're meeting together. And this is how they should look. Now we're going to do the same thing for all 3 of these. And remember, the inside here is the right side of your fabric, and the outside facing you right now is the wrong side. Get your seam, and you're going to match the seam at the bottom with the seam on the top so that the pretty side of your fabric will show. Here are my 2 seams. I'm going to pin or clip these together, and then you're going to fold this up into a cuff. Now we want to find the exact opposite side of where we just pinned or clipped. We just clipped it here on the seam, so now we want to put another clip on the exact opposite side of that. That's going to mark the front center of our waistband for our pants. Now you want to get those 2 pinned or clip pieces and match them together, and then that will give us the 2 side pieces of our waistband, and you can put pins or clips right there in those sides as well. This equals out your waistband into 4 equal parts. We're going to do the same thing with the rest of our garment. Go ahead and do the same thing to both of your leg cuffs. If you don't want to use pins or clips to quarter off your garment, you can also cut small slits with your scissors like you did on the pants. If you don't want to cut small slits, you can also use a fabric marker or pen. Remember, our first place mark is just the seam, and we want to find the part opposite of that to make a small slit or to clip that. Then you're going to match those two pieces together and find the left and the right sides. Go ahead and do your other leg cuff the same way. Here is mine all done. You can see the seam is going to be the back of our pants, and the seam on our cuffs for the legs are going to go towards the inner part of the leg. Now let's go ahead and attach the leg cuffs to the bottom of our pants. You have them quartered off, 1, 2, 3, 4 marks, 2 slits, and the 2 side seams. I like to start by getting the seam of our cuff, and I align the seam with the side seam on the inside of the pants. And you do this that way on both sides. So how you're going to do that is go ahead and have the raw edges facing down with the fold of your cuff up, and you're going to put your leg piece right inside of that cuff so that all the raw edges meet around the bottom. Once you've done that, match up the side seam of your cuff with the side seam of your pant. And you're going to match up the raw edges down there at the bottom and pin or clip that in place. Once you have that pinned or clip in place, go to the other side seam and match it up with the slits or marking on the other side of your cuff. Then you are going to match up the front, center, slits on your cuff with the pants, and do the same thing for the back. Once you have this clipped or pinned in place, you'll notice that the pants are a little bit bigger than your cuff pieces. That's how it's supposed to be. Go ahead and do your other leg cuff like I've done here, and then we'll move on to the waistband. You're doing the waistband exactly the same way, except for this seam in the back is going to match up with that little slit mark in the back of your joggers. So go ahead and align them both. And just like you did the legs, go ahead and push the top of your pants through the cuff so that all the raw edges meet at the bottom there. The fold of your cuff should be on the top, and the raw edges and the clips should be at the bottom. So line up that back seam with the back of your pants, and then you can either go to the front and line that up, or you can go to the 2 side seams and line those up. And like I said before, you will notice that your cuff is much smaller than the width of your pants. That is how it's supposed to be, because your cuff should not be the same size as the pants piece, because then it won't come inwards to hold tight and secure on your waist. So you will see here how that fabric is a little bit bigger on the inside. We are going to stretch it out a little bit as we sew, and I'll show you how to do that. Now that we have everything pinned or clipped, let's go ahead and take this to our machine and sew it all the way around the waistband and both of the cuffs. As I mentioned before, you can use your sewing machine with a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch, but I'm going to show you how to do this on my serger. As we sew, we're going to pull our fabric just like that so that it lays flat all 3 layers of this fabric and they line up nice without puckering on your finished product. So take off one of the pins or clips and place that quartered piece under your machine foot and then grab the next pin or clip out and hold it with your fingers. Now you're going to stretch your fabric towards you so that all 3 layers lay nice and flat together. And then you are going to sew until you get to the point that you're holding with your fingers. I like to line it up with that little edge of my serger as I sew, and that's about 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you get to that quarter, grab your next pin or clip and take it off and hold that piece with your fingers. And you're going to stretch it towards you like we did a second ago so that all 3 layers of this fabric lays nice and flat together. Continue to sew and do this all the way around. Here's what the leg cuff looks once you are finished. Make sure you do the same thing on the other side. And then all you do is flip that cuff down and you will see the nice, beautiful seam here where it's not puckered because we stretched that fabric together as we sewed it. You can choose to leave the cuff down if you want to. If you have a shorter baby or child, you can also roll them up however much you need to so that they are the perfect length for your little one. Now let's work on the waistband. You're pretty much going to do the same exact thing, but you do have it on a larger scale. So the fabric is going to work just the same, but you are going to have to stretch it just a little bit more. So you're going to place one of your quarters under your walking foot or your serger foot, and you're going to go ahead and start sewing to hold it in place. And then grab the next bit of fabric and make sure all of your layers, your 3 layers of fabric, are meeting nicely right there at the edge where the raw edges are. Take off your next pin or clip and hold that place. And then you're going to stretch that fabric towards you, making sure that all 3 of these fabric pieces lay nice and flat together and that all 3 of the raw edges are lining up together. You can maneuver it a little bit here and there if you need to, but then you're going to stop where you're holding it, go to the next quartered piece, and pull. And that's why we quartered off and took the time to quarter off this fabric. So that way you have completely even waistbands and leg cuffs all the way around. And just to show you why we're stretching this fabric as we sew, because if you don't, your fabric will sew like this, folded, and when you flip these right side out, it will create puckers on the outside of your garment. Now you're completely done sewing. You can see at the top that there's a little bit of ruffling going on. I did change this pattern to bring it in a tiny bit so that that doesn't happen anymore. But now all you have to do is flip down your cuffs and flip up your waistband and you are finished. Make sure to go in and smoothen out all your seams with your fingers. You can make these rolled or unrolled however you want to, and these will fit through several sizes. Just for an example, I have 4 babies and my 18-month-old and my almost 4-year-old can wear the same size because you can unroll these cuffs like this and at the bottom, or you can roll them down and they fit loose and nice and they have that nice stretchy soft yoga waistband, so they fit great. You can use the same fabric that you use for the actual pant pieces for your waistband and your leg cuffs, If you want to, I just prefer to use cotton lycra, the cotton spandex fabric, because I feel like it holds just a little bit better on the waist. If you are using a really lightweight jersey knit fabric, cut 1 inch off of the width of your cuff and your waistband pattern pieces so that it holds a little bit more snugly. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have fun sewing along with me. Please, please, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see all of our easy sewing patterns as they're released. Visit AlohaSewingCompany.com, or the link is down below in the description box on YouTube to see all of our super easy sewing patterns that you can print at home so you can start to sew faster. We make sewing patterns for literally everything, from baby items, kids' clothes, decorations, holiday stuff and gifts, bags and more. And before you go, mahalo.